You're listening to a Comics XF podcast.
X-Men. Get it!
Hey, are you crazy web heads and web slingers out there? And welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly web slinging. I already said web slinging. This is your What does he say? The Thwippin'? This is your weekly Thwippin' podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
Hi, I'm Adam.
And I am Adam's clone that was thrown into a smokestack in the 70s, and then 20 years later comes out and pretends to be the real Adam.
Yeah.
And everyone intends for me to be the real Adam because we're really annoyed with the direction that the character is gone, but fans have a big outcry on it. So then I get killed off and I get told, actually, I'm Adam's clone brother. And I was the clone all along and not Adam, who thought he was in the smokestack, but not me. And then some other things happened that
something with the jackal, blah, blah, blah.
No, the jackal stuff, that was in the 70s. Well, no, because I do become the real I do become the new jackal at one point. And then I become Purple Spider-Man, who's hanging out with Madeline Pryor. I read those. I read half of that event.
Dark web.
And I skimmed the other half, and unfortunately, the half I skimmed is more relevant to this bit. My name's Zach.
My name is Zach.
Hey, Spotify Wrapped just came out, Adam.
Oh, yeah.
And I am not anywhere near as ambitious about this podcast as I have been in the past.
Okay.
I think in the last few years, we've come to terms of this is our position and things, and that's fine. And we enjoy doing the show. And if other people want to listen, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Third
most popular X podcast in the world, I think.
Third most. I'm okay with that. My son, this is diversion on to diversion, but my son yesterday was telling someone, he's like, yeah, my dad has the second most popular X-Men podcast in the world. And I said, it's the third, buddy. He said, what the heck? What happened, Dad? I said, Connor 4 years ago. I don't know what to tell you, bud. He's a friend, and he was like, I was like, you knew this.
Oh,
also, why?
Disappointing children here.
Disappointing children. Anyway, I say all that to say I get why we may not have the commercial appeal of a few other podcasts that have made it intentional that they are easy to jump in on and good for anybody. We're 2.5 minutes into this episode. I don't think we've talked about the X-Men at all, which is a bad track record for an X-Men podcast.
Here's what I will say about Spotify Wrapped. One, obviously there's probably a lot of people out there who are not happy with Spotify. I'm not happy with Spotify. However, we're still publishing the podcast there. So
they just want to host the podcast. People want to listen to it. You can get this podcast literally anywhere.
Lots of different ways. For
years, you could get this podcast without Spotify.
Yeah.
It's super easy. It's an RSS feed. You may be listening without Spotify right now.
That's true. And what I will say is that if you would like to show us your love via Wrapped or whatever year-end thing you use, it's always nice to have a nice little pat on the back to say that you love the show. So that's fine. That'll boost my self-esteem.
I can tell you, Adam, there's people out there who listen to our podcast more than any other podcast.
Oh, that's nice.
It's okay. Again, we know where we stand. It's fine. We're okay with it. No,
to our thousands of listeners, thank you for sticking with us as always. But
yeah, truly, legitimately, folks, this is just us making jokes for each other. Love it, and we are very grateful that we do have a actual audience of more than 5 people that listen to us and support us and let us do dumb podcast episodes about Spider-Man.
Yeah, why are we talking about Spider-Man today? This is a you pick 'em, or what is this?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't remember. I think this was what had happened is that we were panicking to get something because of some timing things, and I grabbed something that I think you wanted to talk about at one point, Adam, and then we cut a bunch of the content and we reworked it into whatever this episode is.
Okay. Well,
Because you and me were going back and forth, like, should we cover this comic? Should we cover this comic? Anyway, we figured it out.
Yeah, but I'm excited to talk about this stuff. So this is a very spider-centric episode, but in every story, it does cross over with either an X-Men or X-Men plural. And there's some really fun things here. We're gonna.
And do you know what else is fun?
Spider fans?
Explicitly not.
No.
And folks, I'm just gonna say, 5 minutes into this, if you're a fan of Spider-Man, buckle up, because I've got some hot takes and some cool beats, and it's going to be a fun time. But luckily, none of our Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/Battle of the Atom are Spider-Man fans, I assume. In fact, they're fans of the sick, twisted humor that we bring, the skewed views that we slide right into this podcast. And if you want to be like those fine folks over at patreon.com/Battle of the Atom, you simply have to go to patreon.com/Battle of the Atom, reach deep down into your hearts and pocketbooks, toss a couple of coins into our coffers. Think about what do we know about Spider-Man? He's broke. He has the proportional strength of a spider.
Yep. Sticks to walls.
Sticks to walls. Does this weird thing with his webbing guns. Anyway, that's what we know about Spider-Man. Also, broke was the first one that I said. And while we're not broke, a little bit never hurts. So
I will say another thing that I always will remember about Spider-Man is that if you talk about Spider-Man, and you say something that contradicts Kurt Busiek will show up on whatever platform you're using. And even if you didn't say his full name, will comment on your post to tell you why you're wrong.
Oh, buddy, that's not just a Spider-Man thing. God bless Kurt Busiek. He needs to not search for certain things. And that's just who he is. And we've all let he who is without sin cast the first stone. That's all I'll say there.
Definitely had a strange interaction with him when I didn't even subtweet him or name him or anything. Where
is this
happened this year, like within the last year, where he had posted something about Spider-Man somehow having like stickiness control over his webs based on like fluid mixing in the chambers of his wrist. And I was just like, absolutely not. That is just not true. That is not something that has ever been like a thing. It's just Spider-Man's webbing doesn't make sense. And that's okay. Like he can make a hammock out of it, and you won't necessarily be stuck in it. You can just lay in it.
If you're going to argue with Kurt Busiek on the level of Marvel handbook facts, like
I can't.
That spiritually, I am in agreement with you that this is nonsense that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's whatever the story needs. And also, as someone who does work in thermo and fluid dynamics on a semi-regular basis, would say that, no, this is nonsense that doesn't make sense. And yes, you can adjust viscosity to blah, 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 or change the concentration of a bunch of stuff. But that's not what's happening in his magic web guns that he has.
Anyway,
that said, Kurt Busiek probably could tell you chapter and verse of what Untold Tale of Spider-Man talks about exactly how he does that.
I don't know. I was just surprised when, I wasn't directly responding and all of a sudden I'm having a conversation. I'm like, this is weird.
But I don't know why that doesn't surprise you. Here's what I know about Kurt Busiek. And again, I need to preface this by saying generally like Kurt Busiek and think he's a very talented writer. Just think he needs to use social media a little bit differently from time to time. The funniest thing in the world to me is when Kurt Busiek had his username for 4 years on twitter.com be Kurt Busiek Resists, and then Joe Biden gets elected and he's just back to Kurt Busiek. Has he gone back to Resists?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Because that was a running joke between a handful of friends and me.
That's pretty great. All right. I
love Kurt Busiek Resists. Like, I think about Kurt Busiek Resists semi-annually at this point.
I like that.
Kurt Busiek does not feature in any of these comics, by the way.
No, next time he jumps into my thread, I'll see what his handle is. But if there
at the $5 a month level, you can get a whole episode where we talk about Kurt Busiek or whatever you want to finish the only part of the podcast that has a monetary impact on your and my life, Adam.
It's important.
Just to get that one in, 10 minutes in, what the hell are we talking about?
We are talking about the most perturbed thing that Spider-Man fans have to talk about constantly, and that is Peter Parker's ongoing and then later retconned marriage to MJ and their potential for having relationships and or kids. That's at least two of these stories. Not the other one, but
no, the other one does involve Peter Parker's dating life, as do many things.
It does. So we're going to start with a comic that I read many times when I was 11 years old, and that was Spider-Man number 15. This is an interesting one because it comes after a 2-issue arc. This is the McFarlane series. This is a fill-in issue that Larson does completely by himself without any input from McFarlane. And this is right after a 2-issue Morbius arc. And it's right before
Wait, are you telling me that it was just Morbin time?
It was just Morbin time, and it's about to be, the issue after this is the issue where Todd will cross over with X-Force and then leave the book forever.
Yes.
And at which point Larson will jump back onto the book to do a fan favorite run called The Revenge of the Sinister Six, which I am a huge fan of.
That is, for people who may not know it by that name, that is the comic where Doc Ock has a cocaine rocket, correct?
It's fantastic. So much wacky stuff happens. Like, if you want to see like Eric getting into the Savage Dragon mindset, just like go back to these issues. It's all right there on the page.
This issue, honestly, it's an interesting one. It's all by Larson. I've never been the biggest Larson guy. Like, here's the truth. I bet if I read Savage Dragon, I'd find something in it that I would enjoy. Like, I feel like it's more believable for me to read Savage Dragon than it is for me to ever read Wildcats, for example.
Here's the thing, Zach. I know you like old Kirby comics.
I do like old Kirby comics.
And here's the reality of what Eric Larson is spending his life doing. He is basically making like his own universe of like Kirby type stuff, and yet he's just pervy as hell. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, he has never drawn like a boob without an articulated nipple in his life. Like, he is a perv, and
God bless him.
We need some perverts
out there.
He's doing his thing. And I will say that at this time in my life, when I was like 10, 11, 12 years old, Eric Larson to me was one of my all-time favorites. I loved what he'd done with Michelini on ASM. I loved the stuff that he did here with Spider-Man when he comes back in the McFarlane stuff. I was so into the original run of Savage Dragon for Image. Like, I just loved what he was doing. And this issue stood out to me because it is one that tries to, unusually, have a fairly adult conversation about what it means to make the choice to become a parent. And that takes on extra significance because Spider-Man and MJ are notably concerned, given they live in the Marvel universe, that maybe their kid would be a mutant. And
especially because Spider-Man does have radioactive spider blood, as the theme song says.
Yes. So the plot of this issue is pretty simple. He's having this heartfelt conversation with MJ. He goes to get more information from guest lecturer downtown, Hank McCoy. They thwart off both a mutant supremacist and an anti-mutant human supervillain.
Are you talking about Master Blaster and Powerhouse?
Both of whom resemble like some Savage Dragon characters who will appear in the pages of that later. And they later encounter another monster, like a mutant, that is wreaking havoc, only to realize that it is a Morlock baby. And this
it's just really, a little kid.
Yeah, this really puts the entire conversation into contrast.
Yeah, he's just like a weird puffy monster. He's a generic strong monster villain.
Yeah.
And his Morlock family finds him and they're like, Joey, where have you been? Come on. Someone could have gotten hurt. And eventually Spider-Man talks to Beast and he's like, look, I'm really worried about what if my kid's born a mutant? Like, or like even that, I have radioactive spider blood. Like, that can't be great for a child, right?
Yeah.
And Beast is like, yeah, man, probably. That does not sound good. Now, here's, I think that's interesting. I think Larson is trying to tell a real story here. One that you wouldn't necessarily normally get in a Marvel comic, and one that is still told through a Marvel comic. And I'm like, okay, you're leaning to the soap opera-ness of it. You're even going a little bit, quote unquote, more mature on this. That, I think that's ambitious. And that is worthwhile. What I don't love is Mary Jane Watson. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to out myself as a guy who is not upset that Spider-Man is no longer married.
Okay.
There's dozens of us, and they
Sure.
all work in Marvel editorial. And no, here's the truth. I for a while, especially in my 20s, after I had gotten married, and it's like, I want to see myself reflected in these superhero characters.
Sure.
Like, I get value in seeing a young couple dealing with, decisions like having children and all this stuff. Okay, I get that. And the thing about that couple is that Spider-Man is a deeply rounded, fully formed character with a lot of nuance and pathos in a lot of it. And as written in 1991, Mary Jane Watson is not.
She's a bombshell. She is a
supermodel. She is very much a supermodel.
Yes.
But she is not treated as a character with like her own internality. She is the prize waiting for Peter at home. She is, you were the good guy, so now you get the hottest girl ever. So much so that in this issue, after Spider-Man has run off to talk to Beast because he's the one who's like, I don't know if I really want to have kids, MJ. So after she's very upset, he comes back through their skylight as he's wont to do. She is standing there crying in a negligee. Just talking about, I feel like I'm being so selfish by asking for kids and all of this. And Peter, I should do everything that you want. And it's like, one, this is a weird conversation to have. And I'm not expecting Eric Larson to like be delivering. I'm giving him credit on that. Cause it's like, okay, you're trying. I'm not expecting everything from him. It just throws me off when she's wearing bedroom clothes.
Oh yeah. No, these are not like normal. This is a very skimpy negligee that she is wearing. And
this is from the Adam and Eve or upscale equivalent.
Yeah. I mean, but it is an odd touch to end the issue with this, where they are having a very adult conversation. They are having a very mature decision about, I know that we've been talking about this, but I think we need to wait. And that's an interesting thing for, if MJ and Peter were more of that, I think that's why I think a lot of readers may go back and say, like, this is interesting. But to your point, she's more often, like you said, just the trophy wife that he comes home to and she's scantily clad.
She sits there in all these comics.
Yeah.
Like, she sits there and worries about Peter, and that's what she does. As she gets captured and feels like useless, or her big thing in the 90s is like, well, no, MJ's chain smoking now. Which I'm not saying cigarettes are good. I'm just saying you can't draw who's supposed to be the hottest supermodel in the world and be like, oh, but she smokes. guys, I'm sorry that your steak's too juicy, your lobster's too buttery, your beer's too cold. Like, I don't know what to do with this information.
I do think she has more substance in other Spider books. This is clearly not the best example. Like, McFarlane and Larson are not doing her any favors. They want to write about Spider-Man. But to your point, I
Well,
do
that's the thing.
applaud
Oh, go on.
like DeMatteis and Buscema are doing like more with MJ in Spectacular, for instance, you know, as we go through the times around this. But it doesn't matter. What I want to say is that I applaud Larson for trying something like this. I just don't know if it, like, looking back on it now, many years later, I don't think it quite hits. Because even though it's trying to have a mature conversation, it's also making weird, like, equations with being a mutant and choosing to have or not have a pregnancy that are a little dicey if you actually read what Beast is saying. I think the other thing that's a little bit weird in this particular issue is that Beast tells the Morlocks that they can send their kid away to this place called the nursery, which is not mentioned ever again in any other comic, where like superhero children or superpowered children are going to somehow have, like, you know, basically like all the assistance that they might need. And in my brain, when I hear that, I'm like, are you giving this Morlock kid to nanny? What is this? It's weird.
That reads weird. Hey, it turns out the idea of a parent or a child having to be separated from their parent because they're different, yeah, it's got some weird stank on it, Beast. And perhaps we should rephrase how we're approaching these things, these
Yes.
delicate situations where there is a child that probably needs some extra care and support. Hey, maybe you should invite this entire mutant family to go live in your mansion.
I was surprised that wasn't where they went.
No, what? You think Charles is going to let the dirty people in? Those are sewer people. They belong in the sewer. They don't belong in the house. He's been consistent on that point for years,
That is
brother.
true. The Morlocks don't come in. Can I just say, I will say what does work in this issue. I love Larson's drawing in this. I think
Eric Larson's pretty good at drawing webs.
Drawing like one of my favorite versions of Spider-Man here, and it's a lot of fun. So
he also has Larson has a really strong grasp on anatomy for his figures,
sure,
which stands in stark contrast to some of his peers at the time, and it does allow his cartooning to really shine through because he can play with the form and play with the shape of characters because he already knows, like, no, I know how to draw them right. I'm choosing to exaggerate certain things here or there to make a point.
yes.
And that is a true, like, skill of a artist.
Yeah.
I've only talked to Eric Larson once. It was at a convention, and I was playing wingman for one of our mutual friends who wanted to do an interview with him.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Larson's insane. You've seen his weird claw hand, right?
Oh, he has this wacky, like, backwards hand.
We're not making fun of his physical hand. It's how he chooses to use his hand.
No, he holds his pen like with a I don't know how else to describe this, like a bent wrist. His hand is like very, very oddly placed when he draws. I have two fun facts before we rank. Number one is that Eric would later repurpose some of the layouts from this issue for an issue of Savage Dragon.
Which is funny because he doesn't have any of those original pages anymore.
Well, that was the second fun fact, which is not actually fun at all, which is that the originals from this, except for maybe 1 or 2 pages, survived after his house burned down. Now, another interesting factoid about that is that eagle-eyed readers will know that early issues of X-Force have the occasional page that is inked by Eric Larson. Eric Larson actually did an full fill-in issue for X-Force that only 2 pages survived from, and the rest of it was burned down in that fire, so we'll never see what that fill-in issue looked like. But It's really interesting what did survive. So
How
you can see
bad
those
do
up.
you think Eric Larson's carpal tunnel is? Because I'm looking at pictures and videos of him drawing, and I'm trying to hold a pen like that. I'm just holding my hand like I have a pen right here.
I can't.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it must be comfortable for him, or else he wouldn't do it. But yeah,
To be
I think if
fair,
any of us tried to do it, we'd be in pain.
Adam, I did find a piece of art that Eric Larson has done. It's a self-portrait, and
Oh yeah, I've seen
he
this.
he gets it. He
Yeah,
gets
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
He knows he's an insane person.
Yeah.
Okay, we should rank this comic, don't we?
We should. We should.
Don't you
So,
think?
what are we ranking it on? What is this?
Our big old list of every X-Men story from best to worst. We've been ranking them for years now. We have ranked 1,104 distinct, unique X-Men stories. The best of which being the House of X Powers of 10, the 250th best being Uncanny X-Men 97, My Brother, My Enemy.
Nice.
Number 500 on the list is Uncanny 154 to 157, the Sidrian Hunters and Starjammers. 750 is Wolverine Dangerous Games. 1000 is Domino Volume 1. And 1104 is 2099 World of Tomorrow. Okay, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Where is Sabotage?
Okay, Sabotage is at 869 on our list.
This is better than Sabotage.
Yep, X-Force 3 and 4 and Spider-Man 16. I agree.
Where is Perceptions?
Perceptions is all the way up at 405. I don't think this is as good as Perceptions.
Man, I let you rank that at 405?
Dude, that's a solid one. That's fun. Wolverine, Wendigo, come on. It's good stuff.
Bud, you sound like Mr. Thomas Brevoort right now, trying to get me to think that the most exciting thing about Wolverine is the idea of Wendigo. As I can tell you, that's a hard pass.
I'm going to also say I don't think this is as good as at 591, Amazing Spider-Man 161 to 162, which is Spider-Man and Nightcrawler teaming up with Punisher.
Yeah, there's a roller coaster in that one, so that one's better.
I do think it might be better than Spider-Man versus Wolverine, though, at 594.
I'm looking right around there. So, okay.
Oh, wait. This isn't as good as Marvel Team Up 89, though. Spider-Man and Nightcrawler at 613.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're just searching all the Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
This is better than District X numbers 1 through 6, Mr. M.
Yeah, that's at 635.
Is it better? It's better than Chaos War X-Men.
Yeah.
That's it.
Is it? Yeah, listen, it's better than Mutant X 1 to 3. I think it's better than Spider-Man Deadpool Arms Race at 627. So we're kind of in this place. It's not as good as Ghost Rider, Wolverine, Punisher, The Dark Design at 619.
I would put this above Hunt for Wolverine Mystery and Madripoor, which is a comic that Eric Larson was mad about. I don't know how mad he was about it. I think he was just like, you used my characters, but you completely redesigned them, so they're not really my characters anymore because I'm an artist, so I care about the designs, not their names.
I would put this above 620, which is Gambit, Tombstone Blues.
Do you remember a darn thing that happens in Tombstone Blues? Because I think there's a motorcycle, and that's about it.
Okay, so our new 620 is Spider-Man Volume 1, number 15, The Mutant Factor. Where are we going next, Zach?
Oh, we're going to go to a completely different universe. We're going to go to Marvel Adventures Spider-Man number 59. This is by Paul Tobin with pencils by Ben Dewey. Now, Adam, my friend, how familiar are you with Earth 20051?
Not really a lot. I mean, from what I understand, this is supposed to be kind of like a all ages, like more approachable version of the story.
Yeah, it was Marvel in like the was it late 2000s, early 2000s did a bunch of what they would call their Marvel Adventures books that were very much for younger readers.
Mhm.
They were the big approachable ones. They never did an X-Men one of that. But they did Avengers, they did Spider-Man. They did a bunch of this.
Yeah, and you could tell. I mean, the cover is a Scotty Young cover, and there's a big blurb on the bottom right that says, "Check out more fun stuff at marvelkids.com," which I wonder if that's still a thing.
But
Probably not.
I promise you, we have the World Wide Web. It goes to the new Marvel HQ app, published
Okay.
by Story Toys, by the way.
Okay.
So yes, it's just redirecting to their new version of a kid's website, which is an app.
Okay. Well, I will say that this issue very, handily introduces us to this universe. I get to know there's a Peter Parker as Spider-Man. I also get to know the three most important ladies in his life, including this universe's version of what? Gwen Stacy, also Emma Frost, and then
Who
not
does not
Squirrel
appear in
Girl.
this issue, by the way.
No. And also not Squirrel Girl, a character named Chat who can talk to any animal.
So this is Sophia Sandovala. She had just appeared a few issues ago in 53, and she thinks that her and Spider-Man are dating.
Well, she's dating Peter Parker and then learns that he's Spider-Man through Emma. Not in this issue. That's
Now,
not what's happening in this
yes.
issue. So this issue starts with Chat and Peter Parker having like a, hey, we gotta check in with each other because now you know I'm Spider-Man.
Right, which is fair.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm aware of Chat as a character, and this is going to go back to the olden days of yore, Adam. Do you remember pre-podcast? Do you remember the Xavier files?
I sure do. Did you do an Xavier file on Chat?
No, someone asked me to, and I said, y'all, I'm not getting around to Chat. I don't know who this is. I'm not. They're like, it's Spider-Man's girlfriend. I'm like, this is not helping your case, my dude. I have to assume that somebody on tumblr.com ran Let's Talk Chat, and it was all about this character, and they very much loved her. She is a perfectly fine character. Actually, I have nothing against Chat. She talks to animals and then sends animals to check on Spider-Man. That's what she does. She's a mutant.
She's not as fun as Squirrel Girl, but she still talks to animals. And Chat is actually kind of essential to this story because the X-Men seem to be following and checking in on Spider-Man. Spider-Man is not happy about this, especially when Wolverine shows up at his house. And it really turns out, after a brief altercation and they're all fighting, that they were actually after Chat.
And saying
Chat showed up on Cerebro.
Yeah, after is a strong word. They're just like, hey, we found a mutant.
Yeah.
Now, these X-Men, they are giant size X-Men. They are as classic of an X-Men lineup as possible. It is Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Cyclops, and Banshee.
Yep.
They come. Spider-Man gets really mad that they keep showing up at places with him.
Yes. You know what's crazy? He basically kicks the crap out of them.
That's not that crazy. Spider-Man's very strong.
He is, but you would think that the X-Men, given the X-Men, could work together as a team, and really they don't succeed. Spider-Man pretty handily takes all of them out.
I buy Spider-Man beating up every X-Men here except for Storm, and that's because Storm's not allowed to lose a fight because this is a Claremont team. No, but it's an interesting one here. I get this is a fun introduce these characters to young readers because who is this character? Who is their power? What is their power? And we've read a lot of children's media about the X-Men over our time on this podcast. And I feel like this is a fairly successful entry into, hey, here's these characters. Maybe you'd like to read more stories about them. Who knows?
Yeah, it's not that they're not introduced well. I think they are. I do take issue. I don't think this is as fun as some of the other like kid introductions to these characters. Like the X-Men come off as creeps because they're sitting outside windows and like,
they
peeping
are
on what they're
presented as
doing.
weird
So
stalkers,
yeah, so that
which
part's not great.
it's not great for the X-Men. I like it as a story conceit. I think it works for this tale, and it is consistent with what was probably the most famous Spider-Man and X-Men interaction at this time, which was how Spider-Man got body swapped, and he was like, "No one hates you because you're mutants. They hate you because you're all jerks."
Yeah. Pretty true. But there's not much else to this. At the very end, there's a little bit of a, cliffhanger because it doesn't seem like Chat recognizes Spider-Man.
Chat is having someone is messing with Chat's mind.
Yes. So
by the way,
keep reading moment.
Did you keep reading?
No, I did not.
Great. So, Adam, because we will, and I promise you this, we will never revisit this universe again. I want to tell you, you know how Chat has started working with the Blonde Phantom Detective Agency.
I did read.
She mentions that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show you something here. I'm going to send you the leader of the Blonde Phantom Detective Agency. It is the cover to a couple issues later, Marvel's Adventure Spider-Man 61. You see this character, this teenage girl wearing a skin-tight suit, like a superhero leotard suit thing, with a kissy face lips as her superhero symbol.
Oh.
And a domino mask.
Yeah.
That is the leader of the Blonde Phantom Detective Agency.
Okay.
Would you like to venture a guess of who this character is?
Please tell me that's Emma.
That's Emma Frost, buddy.
Oh my God.
That's Emma
Hilarious.
Frost. That's Emma Frost in what is the most godforsaken uniform I have ever seen.
It's pretty goofy.
Darn near any character, but especially for Emma.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's if you wanted to do the kids' version of Emma Frost, don't do this. I don't know what you do. No one wants teenage Emma Frost.
Yeah, it's a little weird. There's not much going on here. So
Emma Frost mind controls a bunch of people, and then she goes to jail. But she
okay.
stops the mob. I kept reading. I skimmed a little bit forward because I wanted to know what was going on with this insane costume. Anyway.
There's not much going on here. I feel like we could rank this. Like, it's not a bad comic by any means, but it's pretty thin on content.
It is quite slight. It is nowhere near as good as Avengers Assembly.
No.
Which is at...
But it's not as bad as like that kid's book. That like baby.
No, but that's
book.
that's literally near the bottom of the list.
Yeah. This isn't that bad.
Because let's see, Assembly is at 223.
Assembly's great. If you missed that episode when we talked about that, check out that Avengers Assembly trade paperback. It's fun.
Assembly's dope.
Yeah.
This is worse than the Eric Larson story we just covered. So it's below 6-1.
For sure. Do you think it's worse than at 800 X-Men Legacy, which is the AVX Rogue versus Carol?
No, I think this is a perfectly fine story. I don't think it's bad. Like, for what it is and what it's trying to be, I think Paul Tobin specifically is writing very well for the story he is telling and the limits that he's putting on himself. Like, he understands the assignment and he's delivering on that. And I think, like, I want to meet this comic where it's at. So I think it succeeds generally in what it's trying to do. It may not be the most interesting thing, which is the challenge. Like, I would put it above X Corp at 750, which tries to do a lot and doesn't always succeed at it. I'm trying to see where like a hard, but like at 648 is Uncanny X-Force Otherworld, which I think is still better than this, even though it is a deeply flawed comic.
Honestly, I wasn't going to go into the 600s. I think we're probably
what's
still
that 700s? Oh no, this is not as good as the G. Willow Wilson arc of X-Men Volume 4, The Burning World. That's 700 right now.
This is not as good as the last 3 issues of New Mutants at 711. This is not as good as the Herald of Galactus at 716.
Oh, when Dazzler becomes the Herald of Galactus. No, you're right. You're right on that one.
This is not as good as Dazzler 27 and 28 at 733.
Okay, man. You're just pointing to these Dazzler comics. And that makes it difficult for me. This isn't as good as Stan Lee Presents X-Men, the End, Book 3, Men and X-Men.
No, so if you say it's better than X-Corp 750, that means we're in the 740s.
This is better than the Muir Island Saga.
Wow.
At 744. That's not a crazy sentence. A lot of things are better than the Muir Island Saga.
No, and I would say it's less objectionable, though the art is not nearly as good as Kitty Pryde, Shadow and Flame.
Look, I got to give Paul Smith the nod.
We'll give Paul Smith the edge. So this is going to be our new 744.
And only Paul Smith, to be clear.
Okay. So that was Marvel Adventures, Spider-Man number 59. We have one more story. I had never read anything from this. This is Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows, Volume 2. That's important because this is an ongoing. And we're talking about issues 6 and 7, both written by Jerry Conway in his late 60s and penciled and inked by Ryan Stegman.
Yeah, Jerry Conway, I think he does the entirety of Volume 2 of Renew Your Vows.
Amazing.
Oh, no, Jody Hauser does some at some point. Jerry Conway does maybe the first half of it.
Yeah.
He does a chunk, I remember. I'm trying to find what Jerry... Oh, Jerry... I don't know where he actually stops a little bit sooner than I thought.
Okay. But I was going to say,
he co-writes with Stegman for a little bit. Yeah. Anyway.
I like this.
It's very interesting. So, Renew Your Vows. For those of you who do not know, Adam, you're familiar with Marvel's Superhero Secret War?
The which one?
The Superhero Secret War that then in 2015 became a different Secret War called Marvel Secret Wars, where they canceled all the books and then relaunched them.
Yep.
Well, this... In the relaunch for Secret Wars, or during the event Secret Wars, the book Amazing Spider-Man was replaced with Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows on Battle World, which was a Dan Slott, Adam Kubert book about Spider-Man and MJ being married and having a kid.
Yeah. And more than that, MJ is Spinneret and their child... Annie Parker is Spiderling. So they are a family of spider people.
A lot of people like this concept. So here's the thing. You will find literally no one who would say, hey, I think One More Day was a well-executed story. I think that actually Peter Parker should have sold his soul to the devil, or sold his marriage to the devil. There is no one who will agree with that sentence. However, I do understand the narrative challenges in a superhero universe that is stagnant. Like, as a feature of that universe, Spider-Man is the same quote-unquote character in 2025 as he was in 1975.
Right. It's very difficult to have actual progress.
It's the Simpsons. It's the Simpsons, guys. Yeah. Like, you gotta meet it where it's at. And you really do have trouble with that if the characters keep pushing forward as I'm married, I'm having kids, I'm growing up, I'm changing. Like, you got to do that illusion of change, not the actual change. And this is saying, well, if people like the actual change so much, why don't we give them a book about that and see how well that sells? And I think this is an interesting take. Conway famously killed Gwen Stacy. So, like, has written a few Spider-Men in his days.
Yeah. Yep.
He had also, at this time, he was doing a Carnage book that I remember. I read it because it had the Mike Del Mundo covers that were sick, but was a pretty good Carnage book.
Which is no easy feat. I mean, that's not exactly a character that I would like to be writing.
He made Carnage the big bad of it, and it really about a group of people hunting for Carnage, a la
smart pitch.
Like what's the Dracula? What's Tomb of Dracula? Like Tomb of Dracula. That's the approach. Gary Conway took a Tomb of Dracula approach to this, and it worked really well, actually.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
the premise here is fairly simple, and that is that Professor Xavier has extended an invite to come and check out the Xavier Mansion. This is in Earth 18119,
whatever.
so that they can see if maybe Spiderling, Annie Parker, would like to attend. Of course, it being the Xavier Mansion, this is going to happen at the same time that this universe's version of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, which is made up of Magneto, Blob, Toad, Mist Mistress, Crucible, and an unnamed member who I will get to in a second.
I
was not happy about.
I was waiting. I was just like, we'll see how Adam reacts
But
to this.
Conway is twisting, sort of the version of this reality. In this reality, Jean and Scott are not together. She has married Wolverine. They have a child together named Kate, whose superhero name is Shine. And it's one of these things where it's like, get a tour of the school, debate whether it's okay for your kid to be sent off to this like special school where she'd be surrounded by people who are more like her than the other people, whereas Annie is like, I have friends, I don't know why I need to go to this school that seems to be under attack by murderous people. I gotta say, the big surprise for me here was I really liked Ryan Stegman's art.
I am not the world's biggest Ryan Stegman fan. I think Stegman is someone who I can identify as a talented artist, but not necessarily gel with.
Yeah.
And I specifically not gelled with his early stuff with X-Men, with Jed McKay. Like it tonally did not fit what I think that book wanted to do, where it works a lot better here, where, hey, they're defaulting to super classic 90s is what this is.
Yep.
They are wearing their Jim Lee clothes. All of the X-Men are. That's just what they are. And that's what Stegman wants to draw. And more power to him if that's what he likes.
I'm just interested in the evolution of his style, because if you look at it here, you can still see that it's very clearly Ryan Stegman. He has a really good handle on his inking. Whereas if you look at the more contemporary stuff that he's done for the more recent From the Ashes, his art seems much more influenced by like McFarlane and Greg Capullo. And you see that in the line work and, what the finished product looks like.
That really pumps up during his Venom stuff is when that
makes a lot of sense.
That starts to kick out. Because like Stegman, it's not like Stegman is a new hand at this time. He'd already done tons, including Superior Spider-Man, like a huge relaunch for that book.
Yeah.
He's just doing a little bit of a different style here. And I think it works pretty well for this story.
Yeah,
like,
I would agree.
The characters are expressive. Part of it, I think, is the lighting in this story. It's a Spider-Man story, so it takes place during the day. So it's brighter and more. I think that helps his line work stand out a bit more, where it can get a little muted and messy when you're working with darker colors and you're working with more shadow and more those kind of palettes. I don't know if they mesh as well with his line work.
Yeah. The obvious I'll get into the one thing that I was a little bit bothered by, but in this particular universe, there is an insider who has allowed Magneto's Brotherhood to infiltrate the mansion. That traitor turns out to be Jubilation Lee, who's been leading the tour for Annie. And I wasn't buying it, but at the same time, I can't be so precious about these characters. Like, it's fine for whatever the story is. Like, she basically is just a kid who's impatient and wants change and thinks like, hey, maybe if I change the channel on the belief system that maybe we'll get results quicker.
So I find this to be interesting to look at, because the fundamental like challenge, it's truly not a like old Magneto versus Xavier thing necessarily. It is Magneto has become like more revolutionary and villainous again because Charles Xavier explicitly has agreed to, instead of doing mutant registration, he's like, let us police ourselves. Let us do
Right.
that.
He's doing his Mutant Registration Act through the mansion.
Yes. And Magneto, very much against that, very much against, at minimum, you're bending, like Charles Xavier, you are bending the knee to the US government
Mhm.
over this. I don't necessarily trust them. And folks, I've got to tell you, hard for me not to read Magneto as somewhat sympathetic in his plight here. So much so that, like, so I get, like, Jubilee's perspective being like, it echoes a lot of especially young people these days who are getting more and more furious with the state of the world and the capitulation of who were supposed to be the resistance leadership to, fascist takeovers and all this stuff, and demanding action. And, the violence is the language of the unheard. Like, I get that perspective, and it's an interesting kernel in this story that I don't think is super well developed. Like, it's there, but it's 2 issues and we just don't get to spend enough time on it.
Yeah. But it is
He-
an interesting world building piece with the Xavier thing. I also think it's interesting that he's Conway, being as old as he is as he's writing this. I know I keep being ageist here, but I think it's interesting when someone is really doing a good job writing a comic at an older age and still like saying something interesting about youth culture, and writing kids in a way, because the other counter opinion comes from Annie Spiderling, who is basically like, hey, my parents are always telling me to be patient. I hate it. I want immediate results, but I have to admit that maybe they're right on some things because we don't always get immediate gratification, and that's like a wacky thing to come out of a kid's mouth, but at the same time, it's good for this story.
I think it works for this story. It is hard for me to parse the specific, like, how this, it's hard for me not to map this onto like present day politics.
Yeah, that's
which
tough.
which makes it like, it's so difficult to be like, no, objectively, Magneto wants to kill a child in this story, so he's wrong.
Yes.
Like, obviously,
And
I
that's what
don't know
Annie
where
is
that
saying.
line is, but when you're standing against Miss Rachel, for example, and her hardline stance of I don't want children being murdered, then I think you may be on the wrong side of things. And Magneto, Miss Rachel would not be proud of you right now.
No. So, I
So
do think there's some depth to what it is that Conway is putting on the page, and it makes for a really interesting story.
Can I tell you the one other part of this that's very X-Men related that I kind of love and then kind of am scratching my head about in
Wait.
equal measure?
Is it Emma Frost coming in and not being in Hellfire Club garb, but in her Generation X like outfit? Because Ryan Stegman chose that, and it looks great.
No, because honestly, I always see Emma in her Generation X clothes. So in my mind, it did not even faze me that she was wearing those clothes. We had this conversation the other week that sometimes I see characters wearing their regular clothes, or what I always associated with, like, yes, no, why would they be wearing anything else?
Yeah. I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, so Scott and Jean aren't together.
Yes.
Which is kind of a thing that you wouldn't expect an old head to do. Like,
Mhm.
end of the day, like, that's very much a 2000s kind of shipping approach to the characters that, yes, Claremont leaned into earlier, but it was nowhere near as prevalent as it was. Like, when Jerry Conway was working around around the offices, it was Scott and Jean,
Right.
It's weird that they're not together, that Scott's still there,
Mhm.
which again is a world building wrinkle that feels odd, and it's supposed to feel odd, and you want to learn more, and it leans into the fact that no, kind of they are trapped here because of
It's not
Charles's
just that, though.
self-policing.
You get the impression that Scott's there, like, keeping an eye on Xavier.
Like, Scott, maybe Jerry Conway is writing this and like, hey, I get this idea that Scott would not like what Charles Xavier is doing, and it is the story telling you, hey, maybe Charles Xavier is also kind of wrong here, and that there's some valid points on all sides. I think that's an interesting wrinkle to it. I don't buy Wolverine and Jean having a kid and
No,
Scott
that's
just being
weird.
around there and just be like, yeah, I'm like also here, but not involved with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like that again, it's how I grew up. It's how I was raised. I was raised to believe that marriage should be between a redheaded woman and her red-eyed man. That's just where that's what my belief system is really enforced in me.
Sure.
And I have a visceral rejection to Wolverine kissing people unless they're on a sex island where everyone's cool with it.
Unless they have adjoining rooms. Okay.
If they have adjoining rooms, it's a whole other story here.
Yeah.
And I'm way more down for that. Anyway.
Wouldn't it be great if Scott was just like, oh yeah, I'm not like not part of their relationship.
I would.
They have a polycule, and
if that would complicate things so much more in this comic.
Yeah,
and I wish we had more space to explore that. Like, here's the other thing about Renew Your Vows. How do you feel, because we touched on that at the start of the episode, about how the marriage is portrayed between MJ and Pete in this one?
I like it because they are clearly having the same kinds of conversations that we saw in the Larson issue, where each one of them is coming at this and saying, well, what are the pros and cons of, this educational opportunity that are coming for us? And their opinions shift as the story goes on, which feels very realistic to me. So at least in this small dose, I have not read the rest of it. I thought it was pretty good.
I would not disagree that I think it's written well here. I do think from a long-term perspective, you can tell that Conway puts the focus on their child, Annie Parker, specifically because she's the one that can be conflicted and can be in this position where there is uncertainty and turbulence in her life, where the married couple, they're pretty firm on what they're doing. Because I'm not saying you can't have a complicated marriage. In fact, I would say it's one of the most complicated relationships most people will ever have in their entire lives. However, those are the kind of complications that don't always work well in a superhero comic about beating each other up.
Yep.
And I think that like, I've seen this in Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows. Heck, I see it in the current Hickman Ultimate Spider-Man. Like, you can very easily see why there is such a hardline editorial stance for, like, look, we get it, but you're going to write yourself into a corner and you are not going to be happy with this long term. And that's a tough pill to swallow. And no one likes me saying that. And they all disagree with me. But darn it, I'm right. And that's rough.
Well, and if this comic shows anything, it shows that there have been opportunities to tell stories like the ones that audiences were clamoring for and still are, given that, Jonathan Hickman is currently wrapping up a 25 issue arc about it. So,
which by the way, Jonathan Hickman's Ultimate Spider-Man is not good because they're married. It's good because he's a good writer with a good artist and not doing whatever insane nonsense about getting a new costume every 3 issues has been going on in Amazing Spider-Man for the last decade. That's why that book's good. It's not the marriage. It's the storytelling is good.
Right. Yeah. Which I think is true for these 2 comics.
Yeah, this one's pretty good.
This reminded me I don't think this is as good, but it reminded me a little bit of my reaction to last episode. We talked about A Nocturne's Tale, which ended up at 383. I don't think this is that high.
It's not.
It is reminding me of sort of other either What If or Exile stuff, and that's kind of where I'm looking on the list.
Well, we've talked about a handful of. That's the thing about Secret Wars, by the way, folks. It's that while none of the tie-ins were necessary to tell the Secret Wars story, a good chunk of them were pretty good. Yeah. And that's why we like that event. I don't think this is as good as at 409 Max Widdert's Gene and Scott, another comic about a married couple.
No, I do think this is. How would you compare this to at 564 X Factor Forever?
That's an interesting comparison.
Another one about sort of like,
Why did I see a page from X Factor Forever recently?
oh, I don't know.
Like in the
I'm not
last
sure.
like 2 weeks. This is better than X Factor Forever.
Okay.
I think
All
I
right.
think this is a stronger overall story, though oddly comparable.
Yeah.
I don't think this goes incredibly. I
No,
don't
this
know.
isn't better than like 554 is freedom is a 4-letter word. That's better than this.
At 554? I don't like freedom as a 4-letter word all that much, but yeah, I'm fine with that. Let's see. Below that is the Hellfire Gambit from Uncanny X-Men. That's probably better than this. I like Unofficial X-Men from the Infinity comic better than this. This is probably better than the one issue where Nightcrawler and Wolverine have a talk at the bar, and it's a perfectly cromulent issue. It just has the most incredible Assad Ribic cover
Yeah.
that anyone's ever
All right.
seen.
So why don't we put it right above that? That would make it our new 557. This is Renew Your Vows, Volume 2, 6 and 7. And, I think we thwipped some good MJ and Peter thoughts here.
I think it's weird how little I like Spider-Man as I get older. Like I have gotten to a point where I think Spider-Man is for the children, and that's okay.
I'll tell you, going back and diving into the spectacular run that DeMatteis and Buscema did, I'm having so much fun with that. That is a hoot.
I honestly, we were going to talk about a couple of issues from that, and then we pivoted.
Yeah.
We'll probably talk about them in the future. I didn't realize that an X-Men crossover directly leads into that time that Harry Osborn did a drug so bad that he died.
It's crazy. There's like, stuff is happening in that book. It's very dramatic and soap opera-y and fun.
I just like 90s Spider-Man would be a massive undertaking to even try and read. And the problem is I can deal with trash comics when they feature my friends, the X-Men. I'm going to struggle to deal with trash comics when they feature my friends.
I'm talking
Spider-Man.
about like late 80s, early 90s, like before you get into the clone nonsense. So,
even like here's my hot take on Spider-Man. Is that Spider-Man never reached the same peaks as it did when Stan Lee was writing the book. And I think it's wild that everyone continues to chase that and no one has gotten to that level.
Very high bar, especially the
is it because Stan Lee did write it?
No, I know, but it's probably the best Stan Lee stuff. So
it is.
But hey, there are many other podcasts that rank Spider stuff. That's not us.
How many of them copied us? At least one.
I'm not worrying about that.
I'm not. We copied War Rocket Ajax.
That's right.
It's fine.
That's right. But I thought we did a good job this week.
I think we did great. I think we had a lot of power and we were very responsible with it.
Yeah.
What do you got going on?
Let's see. Over at Comics XF, I did that. Ann and I wrote that Heathcliff piece. We put out a holiday gift guide. So if you want to check out some ideas for, gift ideas for friends, that's over on Comics XF. Folks can always follow on social media, Adam Reck on Blue Sky and Instagram. And Zach, what are we doing next week?
We're going to talk about all the sensational character finds of 2002.
Ooh.
I'm so excited for the sensational character finds of 2002, buddy.
That's a great idea.
It's the character finds are so sensational.
Truly.
And so 2002. I can't wait. Until then, folks, this has been About the Adam. We hope to survive the experience.
Get it!